The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt. So get ready to go where many nerds have gone before, because we're talking Star Trek. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us on the Salty Nerd Podcast. Today, we're talking about some more Star Trek goodness. We are going to be talking about Star Trek Generations, Star Trek The Best of Both Worlds, and then Star Trek First Contact, my personal favorite Star Trek movie. And I'm joined, as always, by my fantastic panel of nerds, Matt Vader, the Trekkie himself, the barbarian space Viking. What's up, dude?
Hey, man, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm here.
You ready to talk about some Trekkie stuff?
I'm sufficiently lubed and ready to talk some Star Trek.
For first-time watchers, he's not being literal. I'm also joined by Jude. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. And Matthew Kadish.
So just for everyone out there, this is our follow-up to the original series movies, and we have our dog with us today. So you might hear some yelping in the background. We apologize for that, but we couldn't find a babysitter for him for the show.
He is not happy
Yeah.
to be in his force field right now.
He usually gets to go to camp on the days that we record, and they were full today.
So we'll do our best to edit out the audio so it won't bother you guys, but please be patient with us. All right, guys, before we dive into the first movie, we're going to take a quick break to listen to some sponsors, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you'd like to support the podcast, go to saltynerdclub.com. There you can find all kinds of cool stuff exclusive to our patrons, like our exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and some exclusive podcasts, and as well our blooper reel, which is one of our favorite things that we offer for our Patreon members. So go to saltynerdclub.com and help support the podcast. All right, Jude, take it away. What is Star Trek Generations all about?
All right. 1994 Star Trek Generations, rated PG with a runtime of 1 hour 58 minutes. Had a budget of $35 million. What do you think this brought in?
35 million? That's not much at all. I was expecting more. I'm going to say it brought in 78 to maybe let's do 80 million.
Okay. Locked in at 80. V?
I'm going to go right around there, too. Probably 85.
$118 million.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, and keep in mind that all the Star Trek movies are around the $30 million range.
Yeah, that's pretty on par for their budgets.
Yeah. And with this one, they actually got to use all the TV sets and stuff like that. So like they saved a bunch of money.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Well, the model work was awesome in this movie, too. I love it. All right, take it away, Jude.
All
Yep,
right, so
go
here's
for
a synopsis. The OG crew of the Enterprise is doing a photo op on the newly christened Enterprise when a distress call comes in and Kirk side-eye shames the new captain into agreeing to help. They fly to the rescue and beam Malcolm McDowell, Whoopi Goldberg, and a bunch of other survivors aboard, but the new ship isn't equipped with its basic get-out-of-a-jam equipment, so Kirk sacrifices himself to get the ship to safety. Everyone except for Malcolm McDowell seems pretty happy to be alive. Flash forward 78 years, Picard and Riker are LARPing as pirates. Data decides he wants to understand jokes, and Picard gets a call that his brother and nephew have been killed. Both Picard and Data struggle with their emotions. Geordi gets kidnapped. There's a side plot with Lady Klingons, and Malcolm McDowell wants to shoot a rocket into the sun so he can get back to the Nexus that Kirk rescued him from 80 years ago. Turns out that's where Kirk's been all this time. Picard ends up there, and the Guinan of Christmas Past tells him to go find Kirk so that they can defeat Malcolm McDowell. And just when we get Kirk back, they kill him again. Kirk buries him, and he and Data learn to live with feelings.
Actually,
Picard buries Kirk.
That's what I meant.
I love how you can tell she hasn't watched a lot of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because she goes Lady Klingons. and all the Star Trek nerds are going to go, that's Lursa and Betor.
Yeah, they
get their names correct.
They played
lady.
a big role in the Next Generation
I look
series.
forward to meeting more of them.
Yes, for sure.
So, that's right. This is the first time you've ever
Of
seen
course it is.
any
yeah.
next-gen stuff,
Her
right?
first exposure to Lursa and Betor is when they die.
Yeah.
Nice.
This is the first watch.
So we watched together just to kind of introduce her to the Next Gen. We watched Encounter at Farpoint,
Right.
parts
Okay.
1 and 2.
Right on.
So she got to meet the entire original crew, and then we went and watched Q Who, which was the introduction of the Board.
Yeah.
And then we watched The Best of Both Worlds, and then we watched the movies.
Nice.
So like she got kind of like a crash course in the Next Gen.
Okay. So how do you feel about this new crew? Because I know you were pretty trepidatious about this.
You mean like Picard and Riker?
Yeah.
I'm on board. I
Okay.
really like them. Riker's facial hair touches me. in a sexual way.
That's what I'm
Well,
going.
that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. I was like, excuse me. You better get your parts out of there. Those bedroom eyes. Yeah, no, I like them. I really do. And when I first started watching this movie, I was excited to see like a movie with the new crew and the old crew. I was like, oh, they're doing that thing where
They're
like
passing the torch.
Yeah, they're passing the torch. And then like when the beginning where it seems like Kirk's dead, like I was legit angry. Like I was physically abusive to Kadish because he wouldn't tell me. And I was like, did they just kill Kirk? Babe, did they just kill Kirk?
Yeah.
And he wouldn't even look at me. He was just like straight at the TV and he was like, just watch.
Just
and
watch.
I was like, no, fuck you. You better tell me. And I was like pummeling him. I was like, you better tell me. Did they kill Kirk?
Are you
And
in
he was being
an
an
abusive
asshole.
relationship?
I just want her to watch a movie. Like, she can't.
He was like, well, what if I'd never seen this before? And I was like, well, then I wouldn't be angry at you for not telling me what you know. But I know that you know.
Why would he spoil the movie for you?
Because I asked him to.
Okay, so what were you relieved when he showed up in the Nexus? What were your
but
thoughts?
then they immediately killed him again after that. I was like, why? Why are you doing this to me?
He didn't die alone though.
Yeah,
He died stupid.
Yeah.
I don't like this movie.
You don't like this movie?
No,
Why not?
I just don't like it. It's just it's weird. I don't like the new Enterprise. I don't like the Enterprise, the crew that's on the Enterprise.
You don't like the Enterprise
their-
E?
No, with their no. I'm talking about the beginning.
He's talking about Enterprise
The-
B.
the-
Oh,
B.
Enterprise B.
You know,
Okay.
because the way they set this thing up is like, okay, Trek nerds, we're gonna make this movie and pass the torch,
Yeah.
but we're gonna bring back the minimal amount of people from the old show. So they bring back, Scotty and
Yeah.
Chekhov.
I-
They both have a couple lines, and
I miss Uhura.
Well,
Yeah.
originally, so the 3 original cast members who were supposed to show up on the Enterprise B were going to be Kirk, Bones, and Spock.
well, as it should have been.
Yeah.
Yes.
But DeForest Kelly, his health was in really bad shape at the time, so he couldn't physically do it. And Nimoy, when he got the script, he was like,
No.
he was like, these lines could be said by anyone. Like there's nothing special about Spock being there.
It's like, oh, come on, man. Just like put your ears on to do the eyebrow thing for the fans one more time.
And so Nimoy
No.
didn't agree to come back, and they were trying to get Sulu back as well. But George Takei, he was like, well, this is kind of like a downgrade because Sulu last movie he was a captain,
Yeah.
and so like you have me driving the Enterprise B when like stuff starts going bad. It's like a
How
downgrade.
do these guys have such egos to where George fucking Takei won't come on and do a cameo
But
for this?
Because his character's a captain
Oh,
now.
get out of here. God, that dude annoys me to no end.
but
with
it's
these
funny
people.
because they created a daughter for him to
Yeah.
be the one who's now driving the Enterprise.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been cool if her dad had been there to send
and,
her off.
And Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off is now the
Yeah,
captain.
see, like he's like my least favorite part of the beginning of this.
I've-
He's such a
100%.
I've
doof.
actually wanted to see like a series with like him as the captain and see like
Because,
how the Enterprise B
listen,
like gets along with him.
They would have to save him every episode.
for him to be a captain of the Enterprise,
Right.
Okay,
You would have to respect him.
He would have had to already been through some shit, and the dude can't make a decision on a training cruise with this little thing.
Yeah.
There's no way he would ever have been handed the captain stripes to begin with.
He's got
He
his
can't
own
make a
darn face
decision.
on the whole time.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's ridiculous. So
I agree. Like they needed a weak captain in order for Kirk
they
to
could
look
have
good.
done this whole
But
thing.
also
was bad.
Tim Russ is in
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tuvok.
yeah.
Tuvok is in the background. There's actually been a lot of cameos that I never noticed before
Oh.
in these movies.
Star Trek recycles actors
not-
like crazy.
Yeah, not just like Tuvok's in a bunch of them. I know he's in a couple episodes in different series and stuff too. But there's the guy, the guy who plays Ben in Parks and Rec.
Wasn't he driving the Defiant in First Contact?
Yes. I saw him and I'm like, holy cow, that guy's in this movie. It's so cool to watch like these characters or these actors show up in like Star Trek movies and stuff. I love that kind of thing. But I didn't mind this opening scene. I mean, yeah, I do miss.
I thought it was hokey.
I do miss some of the characters, but it was they were trying to pass the torch as best they could.
Then
and they were working.
Then they go to the Nexus thing. It's blowing up ships and they
Destroying worlds too,
and
right?
No,
Wasn't there a planet that blew up in this movie? Was I
I
mistaken?
No, the ribbon basically anything it passes through it destroys.
It sucks
And
through
so
it.
at towards the end, before all the nonsense starts getting really bad, it goes through that planet where the Enterprise's saucer section had crashed, and it basically just destroys it and kills everyone on the Enterprise.
Well, no, that was from the sun exploding.
That was from the shockwave from the sun. Yeah.
But,
Yeah, this is a lot of weird time travel stuff, which is kind of classic Trek.
It's not even. It's like metaphysical. You're in this like, well, the Loki would love this stuff, but it was just it's just a weird movie. And
It's very
I
strange.
thought it could have been. I would have done a completely different thing to hand off the torch.
I remember when this movie came out. So like I was a big Next Gen fan, and I hadn't really watched a lot of the original series, so I didn't really have a big connection with Kirk. Picard was always my captain. He was the guy I grew up with, and was like that. He was the embodiment of Star Trek to me. But like when I was watching this, I wasn't a big fan of the original series movies back when I was in high school and the stuff was coming out. And so like Kirk's death didn't really affect me when I first saw this because I just didn't care about Kirk. But having come to appreciate the original series movies as I've gotten older and learned to love Kirk and Spock and McCoy and the original cast, I had major issues rewatching.
Yeah, growing up with Kirk, I never needed to see him die.
Yeah, it seems like a weird.
This was just a weird kind of thing for them to do. It's like, why are you killing him?
It was a power move.
It's like they didn't.
It was literally Picard taking over for Kirk.
I get that, but they could have done this differently.
Oh,
we never had to see Kirk pass away. It's just like he just was Kirk. Then we moved ahead 100 years or whatever, and who cares?
Like at least give him like a good heroic death. Like so originally, the script went through multiple different iterations, basically. And in the original draft, which, basically Ronald D. Moore and Brandon Braga wrote these. And if you know anything, Ronald D. Moore, he was like the guy behind Battlestar Galactica.
Those guys definitely know their Trek.
And Brandon Braga was like behind Voyager. He was basically like the guy who shepherded Star Trek from Voyager onward. So like they were the writers of this. And originally the way that Kirk died was that he had appeared on the Enterprise as it was getting pummeled by the Klingons, and he took command of the battle bridge, and he died fighting the Klingons, saving the saucer section.
Yeah, that would have been better.
And that to me would have been like that's a Kirk death. He died
hero's death.
He died on the Enterprise, commanding it in battle, taking down the Klingons as he did it.
Yeah. Definitely.
So what I realized, and so through my Star Trek journey with y'all, you've introduced me to like the OG crew, and now we have the next generations. And so what I think, where I'm at right now, how I think I feel is like the original movies, I feel like when they did those, they looked more like the show, correct? And that's something that I like. So when I started watching the new crew show, I'm into it and I really like it. But I feel like there's a big difference between the show and the movies, and I think I like the show better. I think that the show has more heart and more charm and less theatrics, for lack of a better word.
You're gonna find that same. We all feel the same way through all the next gen movies.
I'm enjoying that. So while I'm watching like Best of Both Worlds and Q Who, like I'm really into it, and I'm super excited to watch it. I can't wait for the next one. But with this, immediately there's just something different about it that I'm just like trepidatious about getting invested in.
It's definitely the theatrics of it, because when they're making these movies, they want to try, even though they can capture the core Star Trek audience, they also want to try and capture the general audience for movies to get their budget back. So they have to make things over the top and amped up.
One of the things that really kills me about the next gen movies is that, when you watch the show, and at this point, like we'd been watching the show for 5-6 years, something like that. Yeah. The sets for the show are so bright and colorful, and it basically, like the Enterprise was a ship. It wasn't a military ship. It was for exploring. And so like, you know, you had people who were stationed on that ship. That was their home. And so they made it feel like a hotel almost, where it was like, you know, pastel colors. And you know, it's just like
A galaxy class.
Yeah. It's a bright kind of like pleasing place to live. And then when you get to these movies, it's like they jacked up the contrast. It's like dark and like, you know, with spotlights, and people are lit very dramatically. And I'm like, you know, I know that they're using the same Enterprise set, but it doesn't feel like the
Yeah.
Enterprise.
For sure.
It feels like totally different.
Yeah. The thing I like about this movie, I mean, the plot is kind of all over the place. Time travel is always a weird thing with Star Trek because they use it all the time. Like Star Trek is not shy about jumping around in time.
I like time travel
Yeah,
episodes.
I generally
Yeah.
too. This one was a little goofy to me. I couldn't really follow what the heck this ribbon was, so I didn't really worry about that. What I like about this movie is, to me, in my personal experience, this is like when I watched this movie with my dad. Like Kirk is my dad's captain. That's
Right.
Captain Kirk. That's his guy. Picard is my captain.
Mhm.
So like watching this movie, I get to see my dad's captain and my captain working together to save the universe. Essentially, it's just kind of a heartwarming thing for me. I love Patrick Stewart as Picard.
Listen, like I said, I have no issues at all with them passing the torch from the old crew
Mhm.
to the next generation crew. I just didn't like the way this went down.
Yeah, it's not perfect.
I thought it was really disrespectful to Kirk's character.
Disrespectful.
Yeah,
really.
I just he deserved more.
Well,
Then
He
to be-
deserved a better
then-
death.
then
If
to
they
be-
had to kill him, he deserved
Yeah,
to go
and
out
to
better.
be buried under some rocks on some obscure planet that nobody goes to, that they filmed outside of Vegas here, you know, in the Valley of Fire is where they did it.
Mhm.
Oh, really?
And yeah.
Oh, shit, I didn't know
we could
that.
go visit Kirk's burial ground right now, probably.
Well, the
it's
thing
just-
the thing that kills me is originally, like, his death was even worse. Like he just got shot in the back by
Yeah.
what's his name, Sauron.
Soren.
Yeah, something like that.
And test audiences like just rioted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
when
this
they
was
were
this
watching
was
it.
not a
And so
popular
they
thing.
had to go back and reshoot it and try to give him a better death, and they weren't even able
He
to.
fell
do
off a
that.
bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He like grabs a piece of a bridge and does a 360.
And then
yeah.
falls down a cliff.
But
It was-
I always laugh at that scene because it literally looks like a mannequin stuck on
oh,
a
it
model
100% is. Yeah.
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 They
It's
tied a mannequin to a
piece of steel
T-
and
a
threw it down a
2x4,
cliff.
yeah. They were
It
like,
was-
"Do your best."
So I think it's safe to say that they dropped the ball
Yeah.
as far as the old crew goes
Yeah.
Yeah.
in this movie.
Yeah.
And we all kind of feel like they disrespected Kirk a little bit. But you know, I did like the part where we first got to see the Next Generation crew
On the
because
ship, on the holograph.
they're all
On their LARPing ship.
on their British
Yeah.
trip. Yeah, it was kind of cool. And
I was like, this is even goofier than the
Oh my
campfire
gosh.
sing along.
yeah. But this is the kind of stuff.
What is going on?
Listen,
Oh,
this is
you
the
wait.
kind. This is
You-
the kind of stuff that I see these people doing on their ship.
Mhm.
If you have a holodeck, this is the kind of stuff you want to do.
Yeah.
This was Worf's promotion ceremony, and they took it back to old school. You know, it
Yep.
was kind of neat. I liked how, and this is and in my head, this is where the movie got it right.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
know,
this is
it
the
was-
type of stuff that the Next Generation always did, where they would
Correct.
have like plays or like
Mhm.
jazz concerts
Uh-huh.
or like some
Oh my God.
stupid obscure thing.
Dude, you've got to watch the episode where Riker is like acting in a stage play in front of all the crew, and he like loses his mind for like the whole episode. He's like struggling with his own self identity. It's amazing. You got to check it out.
I had a frog in my
I
throat.
just always thought this was a cool way to introduce the crew in these movies.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few times in this whole series of movies that I felt this was the crew that I had on the TV show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they
You
do
know?
they do a great job of
They-
of building the relationship of the
Well,
original.
they have all their personalities are
Yep.
there. They all have their little short moment. You know, Worf gets to do his Worf thing. Data does his I don't understand humor thing.
Yeah.
And when he dumps Crusher into the ocean, I thought that was funny.
I did too.
And I could totally see Crusher being really pissed off. I mean, it'd be like if we dumped Jude into a pool.
Oh, she'd be so mad.
Fuming with us right now.
Yeah.
I like swimming.
You get that
Yeah,
redhead
but
feud.
not if
yeah.
I pushed you in, but you didn't know it was coming.
I mean, make sure my phone isn't in my pocket.
Right. It was just
So I have a question for you guys because this is something I never really understood why they did with the Next Generation crew. Worf, he always talks a big game, but he always seems to end up to be the butt of the joke.
well, that's
And-
that's kind of the next gen movie thing. Worf gets his moments in the series. dude.
Sometimes, but when I'm watching the Next Gen, which is on repeat in my TV like all the time, like Worf is always like, "Oh, I'm a Klingon, I'm tough," and then he
Yeah.
goes up against an enemy and he gets his freaking ass handed to him, and it kind of irritates me
Oh.
because I'm like, he's a freaking huge Klingon warrior. He should be able to freaking he's the head of security.
He kills Gowron.
Yeah, I mean he does.
Worf has his moments, dude.
I guess.
But he gets more of his moments in Deep Space Nine, I think.
Oh, okay. See, I've never watched that show.
Because that's prime Worf.
Yeah,
Oh.
Deep Space Nine is probably my favorite.
I've
Star Trek.
tried
Yeah.
so many times. And
You need to start
Yeah,
watching DS. You need to go to like the end of season 3, watch like watch the season finale for season 3, and then just go.
Okay.
That's how you
just
do that.
skip the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, they're
not
well,
very
watch-
good.
I watch the first season. I'm like, God, why does everybody like this show so much?
Yeah, because once Worf shows up, it gets good.
It gets better. Okay.
Yeah, and,
Well,
and that's
I've
why they
obvious-
brought him. And that's why they brought him on the show, is because the show was lacking something.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Well-
hey, let's bring Worf on. We'll start doing some stuff.
Well, also,
Yeah.
Next Generation ended, and so everyone was looking for a new job.
yeah.
Well, I've obviously
But-
never seen it either, Alex. So
Okay.
maybe we should watch it together.
I'm down
So
for
what
that.
you got to
We
do?
can have popcorn and booze.
All right.
There was a time when DS9 was overlapping with
Yeah.
Next
Yeah,
Generation.
because Picard was in the pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it all goes together.
Mhm.
So I mean, I don't want to get into that stuff right now, but
Yeah, we're going on a
Worf gets much better
Okay.
when he becomes one of the core groups and not just like in the Next Generation, Worf has his moments, but he's like Scotty.
Yeah.
It's like we're gonna have Worf here, but
He shows up once in a while.
in DS9, he's like becomes one of the
Yeah,
top figs,
Brent
figures.
Spiner and Data
Yeah.
really stole the show with this movie.
Yeah.
Like just Data being the comic relief.
Who would you say the core 3 for Next Gen is for you?
For me,
Yeah.
it's Picard, Data, and
Riker.
Riker.
Yeah? Okay. I was going to ask. I was wondering. Do you, you haven't watched too much of it, but would you say the same
so
thing?
far, from what I've seen, yeah, those are the 3 main people that
Okay.
I'm watching,
Yeah.
that I'm looking for, that I'm like invested in.
You're following.
I feel like we're more invested in the next in the auxiliary characters. It's like we all know Geordi and
Mhm.
Beverly and Troy. They're actually more prevalent in the Next Generation show than
Oh, yeah.
Uhura and Scotty and
Oh,
Chekhov
100%,
and them were
yeah,
in the or in the OT for
And,
sure.
and can I just say,
So-
Gates McFadden, I don't know how she pulled it off. She looks better in the movies than she did in the TV show.
She's
Well,
gorgeous.
she's-
I
Which
saw
one-
her.
she's a
which
pretty
one is
lady,
she?
yeah.
She's
Is
the
that
Crusher.
Dr.
Okay.
Crusher.
Yeah.
I saw her in person at the Trek convention. She looked great.
She looks good.
I'm like, God damn, lady, it's
Yeah.
been like 40 years. What are
Yeah.
you doing?
Did you know she was the choreographer for Labyrinth?
Yeah, well, she's a dancer.
Yeah.
She's a big time
Yeah.
theater
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
Yeah, I've known that for a while. But okay, well, let's get back to the movie then.
Yeah. So can I just tell you the part of this movie that I hate the most?
Yes, please.
That
Yes.
ruins the whole movie for
Let's
me.
get some salt out. Go ahead.
All right. So basically, once in the Nexus, Guinan shows up, and it's not really Guinan. It's kind of like the impression that she left behind after she got ripped out when the Enterprise B saved her. And she's talking to Picard, and she kind of info dumping all the stuff about the Nexus, and it says that
Well, that's what she does.
yeah. So like the Nexus is like eternal. It exists at all places, all time. So like you could go anywhere, anytime when you leave the Nexus. And Picard's like, I'm going to go 10 minutes before the missile shoots off. And I'm like, dude, you met Sauron on the Enterprise days before.
Yep.
Like he didn't even kidnap Geordi or anything. You could have gone back there, had him arrested.
Just shoot him in the head.
Get rid of it, or just detain him there. Avoid the whole like Geordi getting kidnapped thing. Avoid the whole like planets minutes away from 100 million people getting killed. You could have avoided all that just by going back to that point.
Mhm.
Why do you choose to go 10 minutes? Like why not go before the guy like beams down?
Because drama.
Also, for a place that people are obsessed with getting back to because it's so awesome, it looks like it kind of sucks.
It's very boring.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're into like living alone in the cabin like me, I might like it. But
But-
yeah,
but-
it
You
doesn't
got too
seem.
many kids.
but to me, like that plot hole or plot illogic.
Convenience.
Yeah, plot convenience. Like the whole thing. Like if you have the ability to go anywhere at any time and you want to stop a specific moment,
Mhm.
there are better ways to do it than dragging some guy that you've never met before along with you 10 minutes before that event's supposed to
Yeah,
happen.
but
And
like,
it's like- and I
set
wanna-
yourself up for success, maybe.
Yeah.
And why did Picard go to Kirk?
Well, he was told to, right? Well, didn't
Yeah.
Guinan
yeah.
told him to?
Guinan said that Kirk's the only other guy that's currently in this nexus that you can bring out of it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Gotcha.
And to Kirk's perspective, he just got there,
Yeah.
right? So like he was on the Enterprise B, and all of a sudden he's meeting this guy who says, "I'm the captain of the Enterprise," and it's just like, oh, okay.
I did like that meeting though. The two of them
The
talking.
whole inside the Nexus thing is weird.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, it's very. I think it's supposed
Did
to.
you know that the house and the farm and the horses that Kirk is at, like that's actually William Shatner's like property.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
I did not
like
know
that. That was his house, his barn.
That makes
his
total
horses.
sense. He's probably like, you know what? You guys come to me.
I'll dress up. Just ship me my outfit.
He was already wearing that.
You think he just wears the captain outfit everywhere he goes?
He's like, come on in, you guys. You want to go for a ride? You want some of these dinosaur eggs?
I'm down.
But they were trying to go for like the retired gunslinger, like cowboy guy, gets back on his horse for one last hurrah type thing with him, like riding off with Picard on the horses to go fight Sauron.
Yeah, it never really worked for me.
All right, so let's do final thoughts and give this this movie a rating. Vader, on a scale of 1 to 5, how many phaser counts do you give this thing?
I don't know, man. This is a rough start to me for the Next Generation movies.
Yeah.
And it's just a weird, convoluted movie. I don't know why every time they did these movies, they had to like blow up the Enterprise.
It's a thing.
It annoyed me when they blew up the Enterprise, man. People love that ship, and them destroying it. I mean, it was epic when it went out.
Oh, when it crashes into the planet?
It's like the longest skid I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, all the people on that ship would be splattered on the wall.
Yeah.
Just from the inertia.
There was just so many weird, hokey, cheesy decisions. I mean, it's like, let's put a emotion chip in Data so he can swear.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit! It's like, come on.
I remember in the theater when Data went, oh shit, like everyone lost their shit.
It was funny, but
it was very funny.
It just seems strange to me. It's just, I don't know. It's just.
I think the sexual tension in First Contact was stranger than that.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
We'll talk about that in a second.
But yeah, I mean, this is just, it wasn't a good start for these movies, for the Next Generation crew, for me personally. Okay. Not my favorite. This is down there on the pantheon of
like
all
2?
the
You think it's a 2-star?
It's 2.5. Yeah, it's
okay.
It's not there for me. It's just I did not enjoy this movie. I don't really enjoy, with the exception of the one we're going to talk about here in a minute. These Next Generation movies aren't good. None of them.
I
agree.
I have a lot of nostalgia for them, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to go with like a 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just not my favorite.
Ugh.
Yeah.
There's your review.
Yeah.
Sum up your review in one word, David.
Jude, how about you?
I'll sum up mine in one word too.
Okay. Oh no.
Yeah.
There were parts of it that I enjoyed. Ultimately, there was nothing that I loved, like I have for the other things that I've watched so far. I agree that it's like a 2 emotion chips out of 5 for me. But like, I love emotional Data. And I love the LARPing. I love seeing the OG crew.
Yeah.
I hate Cameron Fry. I hate how they killed Kirk, and I hate that they did that to me twice. Like, they killed him, they brought him back, they killed him again. Like, what are you doing to my heart?
I know, that sucks. I didn't like that either.
Yeah, and I just thought there's just something lacking in this that's not in the show.
You know what it is?
What?
Cheese.
Yeah, there's no cheese.
You love the cheese.
Love cheese.
That's right.
And there's very little cheese in the Next Generation movies or show.
But also, like, so far, like, I've watched a bit of the show Next Generations too. Yeah. And so far I'm loving it. Like, I'm really, really loving it. But there's just some kind of it warms my heart watching it. And that was missing from these. This was all drama and no feel good.
I'm gonna make a prediction here.
Go ahead.
With Jude's excursion into
Next
Generation, she's gonna like the first 2 seasons more than she's gonna like the last 5.
Oh no!
I guarantee it.
They are cheesier.
They go to African planet. She's gonna lose her shit.
Oh, when Riker wears like the onesie,
when they have all like
the really naked ones with the nipples showing.
Oh, that's not that planet. Oh, Jude.
Jude,
you have no idea.
People keep trying to spoil it on Twitter. They're like, "Hey, wait till this happens," and I'm like, "Shut up! Also, tell me more."
Season 1 is a cheesy fuck fest of weirdness.
Oh my God.
It is so weird.
I'm so
it's-
excited
yeah,
for it.
it's just-
I want more of that. Like, give me some sex too.
Oh, there's
like, but
Riker's-
without giving me actual sex.
When-
Like,
when
don't
they-
make it dramatic.
when
Just
they-
give me like goofy, cheesy, sexy,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
tension.
That
Yeah, when
happens.
they go to Lady Planet, where all the
Mhm.
dudes are
Lady
where all the
Planet.
dudes are
Slaves.
wimps and all and all
Yeah.
the chicks are hot and
Yeah.
tough. Yeah, it's like death by snoo. You know, it's ridiculous. It's yeah.
That's a Futurama reference.
Yeah. But
I saw a porno like that once.
I mean, personally, I like Next Gen when they get past that and they find their groove.
Yeah.
After the show, we're going to talk about in a second.
Yep.
But I just know Drew's going to love lots of the first two seasons.
Oh, I bet.
So,
I can't wait
yeah.
until you experience the
Excited
nipples
for it.
of Riker.
Give me less of this and more of that. That
Well,
you were just
yeah,
saying.
Okay.
it's coming.
Kadish, how about you, buddy? What's your rating for this movie?
All right, so this is the first Star Trek movie to be made after Gene Roddenberry passed
Mhm.
away. And when he was alive, he was adamant that the original series cast and the Next Generation cast never cross over.
Hmm.
He was like, they each have their own separate stories. Like, their era ended, like this era began. We're never crossing the streams. And then after he died, there was no one there to hold that line. And so everyone's like, let's bring the old crew with the new crew. So I think it would have been more interesting if they had done just committed to the idea and did like a time travel story where the old crew and the new crew had to like work
Well,
together.
I want to interrupt you just for a second. They don't really mix the two crews here except for Picard and Riker.
Kirk.
Or Picard and Kirk. I'm sorry, man. Tito.
Vodka.
And also, Roddenberry didn't have as much influence on Next Generation as people think he did.
Yeah. Well,
In fact, he was pretty much just in there in name only for a lot of it.
Well,
And they did bring Scotty back for that one episode.
it's not necessarily
So-
true that he didn't have much to do with the Next Generation. Like, he was the executive
Well,
producer.
for the first couple seasons, he was there.
Yeah, but he still had like some type of ownership of the material.
Right.
And so like, even though like they had marginalized his involvement in the movies, like if he didn't want something to be done with the Next Generation, they couldn't legally do anything about it because he was in charge of he was the creator basically. So there was that.
and we'll talk about more of Chaos on the Bridge, the
Yeah.
documentary,
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah, but
Kind of dive into that.
one
a
of the
little bit.
things that I found was interesting in this movie was that, those Klingon sisters, like all throughout the Next Generation, like they kind of popped up like a bad penny.
Yeah,
like
they were there a few times.
They would always be a thorn in the Enterprise's side. And
They had some sexual tension too.
Oh,
I should say.
those Klingon
I,
chicks.
But she,
love
like-
Klingon women, dude.
I liked it when Soren punched one and she's like, I hope you're starting a mating ritual. And I was like, oh shit, am I going to get to see that?
Oh, you will see it in the
But
show.
I didn't yet. So
but it was interesting how this movie basically brought them in. Like just midway through the movie, you're like, oh, those are the Klingon sisters.
Well, yeah, but that's the kind of thing that these movies did kind of do correctly is they gave us some sprinklings of
Of the
stuff
show.
that was in the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. And we got to see like the end of their story.
Yeah.
Because, and one of my favorite parts of this movie is that Riker basically takes command of the Enterprise in a battle situation and ends up like, kicking butt.
Yeah.
And I thought that like the whole like Klingon ship versus Enterprise thing at the end was really exciting. And like, like I didn't like seeing the Enterprise get destroyed, but at the same time, I felt like it was a good Riker moment.
Yeah.
Almost kind of like we're going to be talking about the best of both worlds in a little bit, but each time Riker he takes command and like you see him, you see his competency.
Yeah.
In,
He steps
like,
up
these
to the game.
situations.
I can't wait to talk about that. Actually, are we good to talk about?
Let's do it.
Let me give my rating.
Oh,
Okay.
God, you've been talking for 15 minutes.
you
No, go ahead.
take too long to get places.
Anyway, I don't like this movie. I don't think it's a good Star Trek movie. Like I said, like the plot holes at the end are just too much. I didn't like the way they killed Kirk.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give this, 2 dilithium crystals out of 5.
Okay.
We're all like right there, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna bounce this up 1 star because of nostalgia for me. It's one of those movies that I can sit down and watch with my dad and have like that bonding kind of a thing. So this is
Oh, you and your dad.
I love my dad.
It's always about you and your dad and dinosaurs.
Goddamn right. Dinosaurs and Star Trek.
I kind of thought this would be more like you and your wife thing.
Oh, we both love Star Trek too, but me and her are more like Voyager. Captain Janeway are.
See,
Me and my
you're
wife.
lucky because my wife hates all this stuff.
This is going to be like a 3-star, 2.5 maybe,
Yeah.
2.5, 3,
There you
somewhere
go.
around there.
There you go. 3 is too strong.
So, yeah, I kind of feel like it is.
I'm telling you, your opinion is wrong. if
Oh,
you say
okay.
3, okay.
Yeah, 3. I'm gonna go with 3.
He can love what he wants.
Just for
No,
nostalgia.
he cannot.
I love seeing the Enterprise in the big screen. It was great. Riker's awesome. All the characters are fun. Data's little goofy chip in his head that makes him emotional is funny. There's a lot to love about this, but you guys are right. They did Kirk dirty, and the time travel stuff doesn't really make a lot of sense. All right, that's it. That's our discussion for Generations. Stay tuned for just a second. We're going to talk about not the movie, but we're going to talk the 2-parter episodes of season 3 and the starting of season 4, the best of both worlds, right after this message. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you'd like to support the podcast, go to saltynerdstore.com. There you can get some of our awesome swag. This month, we are featuring a limited time edition of Corky, the t-shirt. You can go there, saltynerdstore.com. Grab Corky. It's going to be gone by the end of the month, so make sure you guys go on there and help support us in the podcast. And shout out to James Mangold for giving us the inspiration for that shirt. Corky is, of course, behind Jude over there in the corner. All right, next up, we're going to be talking about the best of both worlds, which is the season finale of season 3 of Next Generation and the season premiere of season 4. So 2-episode part. We're going to treat it like a movie because it's a perfect setup for First Contact. So we're going to talk about that. And Jude, do you have the synopsis for those 2 episodes?
I do have the synopsis, but I didn't do like a runtime or budget or anything.
Oh, that's fine. No, it doesn't matter.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah,
so,
go for it.
1990, Best of Both Worlds 1 and 2. The Borgs are back in town, and Commander Shelby is the Starfleet expert. She's got this theory about a Borg footprint, and she's after Riker's job. Everybody wants Riker to take command of the Melbourne that gets destroyed by the Borg in this 2-part episode. But Riker's career goals are his business and none of yours.
That's right.
The Borg decide Picard has enough big dick energy to help them take over Earth, so they gotta have him. They abduct and borgically enhance him in a nut-hugging sadomaso-mechanic ensemble. The crew nabs him back and uses his connection to the Borg to find their weaknesses. Data reverse commands them to all fall asleep, which causes them to self-destruct. Dr. Crusher does her best to reverse the damage done to Picard and restore him. He takes back command of the Enterprise, and Shelby goes away to pursue someone else's job, probably.
This was like, God, this is top tier Next Gen.
Good.
Did any of you experience this episode
As it happened?
the way you were supposed to?
No. Was it 91, you said? 1991?
90.
90.
Right around there, yeah.
No. I would have been 3.
What about you,
or
Matt?
4.
I seem to remember that I did because my family.
How old were you when this came out?
Let's see. I graduated high school in 97.
Okay, so you were like,
So
12,
I think I was 18,
10.
97.
God, I'm so young.
so you were like 10, 11.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so listen, I was hardcore Trek nerd at
Okay.
this point. Okay, when this show aired, and at the very end of the cliffhanger, you forget we had to wait 6 months
Mm-hmm.
or longer or whatever it was from the end of this episode when Riker goes fire
Oh.
on Picard.
Oh, between part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this episode blew this show up.
Yep.
We were like, what the fuck just happened?
This is why Vader has anger issues.
This was the Who Shot JR of science fiction.
No,
nerds.
to give you guys
It was crazy.
Yeah, to give you guys an idea, like you remember what happened, like your feeling after you saw Game of Thrones, the Red Wedding.
Mhm.
Yes.
Very similar.
That was this, and like the entire summer, this became the water cooler show. Everyone was like talking about it, and when it came back for season 4, like the ratings just blew up.
Yeah,
for
this was
I bet.
this was a thing. It was just like this put the Next Generation on the map. It went from like that weird Star Trek show to mainstream.
Because
and it was really cool.
From like growing up with this and kind of like learning more about the backstory of Star Trek and stuff, like this show had a hard time coming up. Like people were very loyal to Kirk.
This is when this show, from this point forward, it found its legs.
Mhm.
It started having some story continuation, not connected, but continuation.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be like 1 or 2 episodes a season that would continue storylines from previous seasons. You know, it was interesting how they did this.
Yeah.
Part 1 was the end of season 2.
3.
Right?
3.
Oh, 3.
Yeah.
Okay, and then part 2 was the beginning.
So
of
all the
season 4.
cheesy shit that you're gonna like
Mhm.
is pre this.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay. So
yeah. So interestingly enough, like the first part of this was written by Michael Piller, who originally he kind of came on as like just like a pinch hitter in the writers' room, and he became like the guy who took over Trek from Roddenberry. And this was the episode that Roddenberry was like, give it to Piller because like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And this also started the tradition of Star Trek season finales becoming two-parter cliffhangers. Yeah. And what was interesting about this time is that if you watch this episode, so it's really a Riker episode, and it's about like, you know, Riker's future, like what he's, you know, like will he ever kind of command his own ship? And at the time, Patrick Stewart was seriously considering leaving the show because of various like behind the scenes drama and stuff like that. And so they wrote it so that it looked like they set the stage so that Riker could take over as commander of the Enterprise and they could kill off Picard and move forward with the show that way. And it was kind of funny because Michael Piller, like he didn't write both episodes at the same time. He wrote this episode and he's like, well, someone else is going to come along and they'll have to figure it out. And then like when this hit big and they're like, dude, you got to do the second part. He's like, oh crap. and because Roddenberry was kind of out the door at this point and Piller was taking over and doing some good stuff with like the cast and the writing and stuff like that, a lot of the drama was starting to go away. Patrick Stewart decided to stay on board as Picard. And so luckily they had it set up so like it could have gone either way. Like they could have killed off Picard or they could have brought him back.
Question.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know that there was a lot of like bad blood between Gene Roddenberry and the cast.
I don't know. Not so much the cast. It's more of the production side of things.
The writers.
Okay.
The writers.
The writers,
yeah.
Oh, okay. So they got rid of him.
Well,
this is chaos on the bridge. This is all that stuff.
Then he died.
His health was failing, and so like he was kind of marginalized.
Okay.
He was technically still in charge, but at like when his health got really bad, he kind of stepped aside, and Mark Piller kind of came up. And what Roddenberry,
well, this was the kind of the start of the Berman era, right?
Yeah, yeah, and what Roddenberry had kind of mandated was like, you know, he really didn't want interpersonal conflict and stuff like that in the stories.
Okay.
And so like he made it very difficult for the writers. Like he'd take scripts that people wrote and he'd like rewrite them from scratch and stuff like that. It was a very kind of toxic work environment for a lot of the writers.
Okay. Yeah. So my question is more like, so he wasn't involved in Generations at all, right?
Yeah, he was dead.
He was dead by then.
Okay. So like what was he involved in leading up to his death? Was he still working on Star Trek?
Well,
when he died?
The Next Generation was his show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like he
first,
started it, he created it, and he was the one in charge of it.
Okay.
Yeah, but man, he had a lot of
wacky ideas.
There's just so much to put together in my little lady brain.
It's honestly, it's hard to answer that question.
Okay.
Without devoting 2 hours to it, which is what Chaos on the Bridge is all about.
I'll just watch that.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that probably next week, right? Yeah. So it's just, it's a hard question to answer because he was involved, but he really wasn't.
They were trying to.
It's like Roddenberry is like, people put him up on his pedestal, and I'm a Star Trek nerd, right? I don't like Gene Roddenberry.
Okay.
I think he's kind of a weirdo.
All right.
And he's a misogynist, and he's a I know it's weird that word coming out of my mouth. He's a womanizer.
Oh, that was also a weird part.
He had a lot of personal demons. He was not really, to me, I wouldn't put him on the good human being list.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get a lot of hate.
He's a character.
That was a weird part that I noticed in I think it was part 1.
Oh, with the Admiral?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about that.
Just an old man's fantasizing about that good-looking lady. Yeah. Like I out loud went, ick.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some influence there.
I struggle with Gene Roddenberry.
Okay.
I really do.
So we'll have our own cliffhanger because I asked the question in this part, and next week we'll get the answer.
Yeah. So what's funny though is Admiral Hansen, who's played by George Murdoch, he was the same actor who played God in Star Trek V. Yeah. So it was kind of funny seeing him there. But there is that line where Picard's like, like, Hansen, you seem very
Schmitten.
smitten with Shelby, and he's like, just an old man's fantasy.
Yeah.
It's just some creepy side comment.
I was like, gross.
Yeah, it was kind of gross. I forgot about
And
that.
they were like, hey, all the men in the room, y'all want to play poker? And they were like, no, but she can't.
What?
Oh.
So
How can we do this?
I guess.
all right, so Shelby.
Yeah.
I hate her.
I hate her too.
I hate her so much.
Yeah.
Everyone hates Shelby.
I just,
Okay,
I
well,
just-
was she not giving you Glenn Close energy the whole time?
Oh,
She was-
yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
She definitely had some kind of energy, but I guess I'm just a jerk ass male. I don't like her.
I don't like her.
I don't like
this
her.
is why you don't like her. Okay,
I've
because
never liked her.
We
But
all,
before you get
Because
going,
Yeah,
we
go ahead.
all love Riker.
I don't think we're supposed to like her.
Correct.
yeah, that's the whole thing.
So she just comes in.
She's pushy.
She's pushy,
She's
got an
trying to
attitude.
edge out Riker for his job. Like that's
No,
her
yeah.
whole point in this movie is to put pressure on Riker.
And yet she was set up to be the new Riker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
like
And-
if Riker had taken over the
But
Enterprise.
you know
she
what?
helped Riker become more Riker.
Yeah.
If we had gotten her for the next 5 seasons, we probably would have come to love her.
Mhm.
Okay, but I just don't like her character. I don't. I've never liked. In my head canon, she went on some expedition to Borg world
And died.
and got
She's a Borg.
and she got assimilated.
Let's talk about the
But-
Borg
but-
for a minute.
And one other thing, I just want to
Yeah.
really quick, the whole thing with her and Riker. This is where the whole thing with you got Riker syndrome started.
What's that?
Riker
You
syndrome?
never heard of Riker?
No, what is
so
this?
Riker syndrome is like when you get a cool job
Mhm.
in a cool place, and promotions come along, but you're like, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
I don't need your promotion. I'm cool on the flagship.
Yeah.
I would rather be first officer on the flagship of the fleet
Yeah.
than the captain of some Fleabag Melbourne doing
Yeah.
science
That
surveys.
ends up getting blowed up
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Yep.
I just like, fuck the Melbourne. I don't want to be
Yeah.
on the
I
Melbourne.
want to be on the Enterprise.
It's like, no, I'm on the Enterprise, mother effer. You know, it's just like
it's like
no.
Picard's old ass
And
is
it's
gonna
like,
die
he's
any
gonna
day
die.
now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the
Who's
seat.
he gonna leave his ship to? Because his nephew's
Me.
dead.
Yeah. It's like, this is my ship.
Yeah.
I always thought
You
how
know?
Picard handled that talk was really poorly done, where he's like, "Wait, what are you still doing?"
Yeah, it was
here?"
like, I'm on the Enterprise, dude. You know, it's like I run into this with people at work. Okay, I work at the Aria,
Mhm.
which is, people think, in the MGM company, which is what the Aria is part of. There's the MGM Grand and there's the Aria. Well, the Aria, to me, is the flagship of the company.
Okay.
So we get people to come in like, pseudo kind of mid-level
Management.
Management.
positions, and then like promotions come up at one of our sister properties, but it's at the Luxor or the Excalibur,
Mhm.
and they're like, no, dog.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going over
I'm
there.
staying right
no,
here.
No.
I
I'm
totally
good.
get that
I'm good
analogy,
here.
dude.
I
I
work
worked on the strip
and
too.
it's like it's the same thing, and I look at them and I go, oh.
Riker syndrome.
yeah. It's like totally understand.
I get it.
Yeah.
I
So
get it.
that's kind of like a laugh.
Yeah.
Because I have a guy I work with who's going through that shit right now, and I give him shit constantly. He's like, "No, dude, you got Riker syndrome bad."
We're
like,
gonna
you need to-
sign that shit
Yeah.
over to you. You're now the proud owner
And it's
of
like-
this shithole.
Yeah, it's really funny. So yeah,
That's
Anyway.
very true. That's a good way of looking at it too.
Yeah.
So one of the things I also like about these 2 episodes is that around this time, LeVar Burton had some surgery done, and so like he wasn't really able to be in the episode as much as they originally wanted him to
I
be.
did not know this.
Yeah, like whenever he's on screen, like they always like shoot him from like the waist up. I think like he was actually incapacitated, like like he wasn't able to like move around very well.
He'll always be reading Rainbow to me.
And so they gave a lot of his part in these 2 episodes to Miles O'Brien. And Miles O'Brien is one of my all-time favorites.
Wait a second, isn't so best of all? Isn't there a scene where, and I might be getting, this might be the Tito's talking, but there's a scene where like they're going to core breach, right? Is there part of the show where they're going to blow the ship's
I
going to
don't know.
blow?
I watched a bunch of Next Gen this week. I don't remember.
Is that where like Geordi like tumbles under?
And he tumbles underneath the door. Like, and he does this little flip thing. And I'm like, that's like iconic Geordi. And I'm like,
he does that a lot.
That is so bad. But the door is like over his head.
Yeah, he can easily walk underneath it.
He jumps down and rolls underneath it.
Well, they redid that in Generations, if you remember.
Yes,
that might be what I'm thinking
the
of.
first time I saw that, I was like, look at the moves on Geordi.
Yeah,
it's so good.
That's his thing.
So stupid.
That's his thing.
I think it is from Generations. That is from Generations. That is what I'm thinking of.
Like they redid that in Generations, but they had him like slide underneath it as opposed to like tumble. And the door was actually close to closing instead of being like 50 feet above.
I don't think it was in this movie.
They should have done something different every time. Like one time he limbos under it.
It's like in Galaxy Quest when he's like, "Does the rolling help?" It helps. Like dusts himself off.
But Miles O'Brien, because I'm a Deep Space Nine fan, I've always loved Cole Meany and like his portrayal of Miles O'Brien, because he's one of those guys. He was there from the beginning, of the Next Generation, and he evolved into his own character.
Yeah.
And I kept having to explain to Jude while we were watching that. I was like, keep your eye on Miles. Like,
He's
you're in a couple of years when you're watching DS9, you're gonna really like him.
Yeah, he comes into his own.
I just when you're talking about Geordi and the rolling and does it help? My mind went immediately back to Samurai Cop because I'm an undercover cop. I was like, maybe he's an undercover Geordi.
So let's talk about one of the greatest science fiction villains ever created. The Borg.
The Borg.
This is so amazing, dude.
They're
like
impenetrable.
The Borg kind of have been dabbling here and there. We got introduced to them early on in a couple seasons ago, right? With Q Hugh, I think was the first time.
Well, that was the only time before this that the Borg
had
shown up.
Yeah, and I think the creation of this was as a reaction to Gene Roddenberry not wanting any like personal drama. It was like nobody's supposed to be mad at each other, so they needed to create a villain that they could fight against.
Something that wasn't the Klingons and the Romulans.
Yeah, and I think this is one of my favorite freaking.
Everybody loves the
Borg so bad.
The Romulans are the ones that have that really good booze, right?
Yeah, Romulan ale.
Okay.
Yeah, Romulans. There's Klingons, Romulans, and the Borg.
Klingons drink blood wine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
And Romulans have Romulan ale.
Yep.
Okay.
And we can do both at some point. Yes. So
can you buy
some?
there's recipes. They're just bullshit band.
Oh, okay.
They're fun.
Bro, send me the recipe. I'll make it.
Make some Romulan ale.
It's kind of spicy.
I like spicy.
Right on. Anyway, the Borg. The Borg is one of my all-time favorite science fiction villains, and the use of them in this two-parter series is just freaking incredible.
Yeah, they're terrifying.
Yeah, they're super scary because you're like you don't know anything about them. They're super mysterious. They're kind of unstoppable.
They're like
they pull freaking
human insect zombie people. They're weird.
Yeah.
And also in this episode, so we have the Battle of Wolf 259, and that has far-reaching ramifications in the Star Trek universe. It's the first time that the fleet was assembled to fight the Borg. They were decimated by it, like just hands down defeated. And the opening, like the whole genesis of Deep Space Nine, has to do with Benjamin Sisko at the Battle of Wolf 259 and his wife dying and him holding Picard responsible, because as soon as the Borg assimilated Picard, they learned all of his strategies, everything about. And that was one of the cool things about this two-parter is like
how
Riker
like
how do you defeat Picard?
Yeah,
you know, like he's like the greatest captain in the fleet.
That was the freaking coolest thing ever.
I remember when part 1 came out and we were all like, whoa, holy crap. And I remember very specifically when after part 2 came out, I was let down.
Really?
I felt a little emotionally
because they
unhappy
because they got Picard back.
I felt like it was weird. It was like they had this big action thing set up, and then the end was like they put him to sleep. They put him to sleep. It was boring. It was just like, oh, we're gonna like plug him into the thing, and you know,
that's very typical.
It was just I know.
That's very typical of the Next Generation.
I didn't like
where
it,
they
though.
have like a very impossible scenario, and it turns out that the solution to that scenario is just like a very simple thing.
Yeah, there's one thing that I really always go back to when I'm watching this, and it's in the first part, is when Picard's getting assimilated. And you see that one tear come rolling down his cheek, and you're just like, oh, he's still in there.
Yeah.
He's still alive. You have to save him. And like, just Riker's whole arc in this series where he's just like, he just freaking takes control of the whole
And
situation.
I think that's what like makes Riker's decision to fire on him so emotional too, is
Yeah.
because you know that he's still
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, yeah. And Riker's like, I have no choice. I have to do
Well,
it.
he didn't have a choice.
No, absolutely.
I totally get that. It was
Yep.
Yeah, and you know one
that
of
was
the,
why it was so. It was why it was so big.
Mm-hmm.
What,
Like,
and
oh.
one of the things that's interesting comparing this to the movies is the movies are very like showy, like they're very action oriented, like they show you a lot of action. In this show, like the 2-part, the whole Battle of Wolf 259 is done off screen, and they just see like the aftermath, and like these 2 episodes feel very exciting, even though like very little action actually happens.
Yep.
But it's you get caught up with the emotion and the drama, and you're just like, holy crap. And in the movies, they have like a lot of like flash and bang, but you're just kind of like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Question.
Go ahead.
The battle that you're talking about, that's the one where the other Starfleet ships are getting shot down. Like
Yeah.
the Melbourne.
Yeah,
and all
like when
that.
Right.
they come out of hyperspace at Wolf, what is it?
Wolf
what?
359.
359, and you see just all the other ships are just like floating aimlessly, crumbling on fire.
You
and stuff.
actually get to see the Battle of Wolf 359
in Deep Space Nine?
in the premiere of Deep Space Nine.
I'm gonna have to go turn.
Yeah,
it
it's
on.
Okay.
kind of cool.
Nice.
yeah, like they've never shown the full battle.
No.
But like they've shown bits and pieces
Yeah.
of it. And, you know, that battle had like far reaching ramifications for the Star Trek universe, at least until J.J. Abrams.
It's very,
came
very
along.
similar to the start of First Contact, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So
All right, let's talk about the second part and the resolution of this whole arc that kind of sets up First Contact. So we get Riker takes command of the Enterprise. He's being the badass captain that everybody knew he could be, and this is the thing that I love.
Shuts Shelby down.
Shuts that bitch down.
you take a run around me again. I'll snap you back like you're a first year
And he's
cadet.
like, he comes up with this plan. He's like, this is what we're going to do. And everybody's like, Picard's expecting that, right? Like they know everything. He's like, I'm planning on it.
Yeah.
You're like, what have you got going on?
Go ahead and get it, Riker.
But his, dude, I just love the idea that Riker's whole, like, he has to prove himself worthy of being a captain or prove to everybody else that he's able to be a captain by outsmarting the best captain that the Starfleet has,
Right.
is
And
Picard.
I think more than that, he's proving to everyone that he knows what's best for him too. Like,
Yeah.
get out of my business. Like, I know what I'm doing, and here's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. The ending of this was, I know you kind of said it was a little bit anticlimactic.
For me, it was.
I think
yeah.
the whole, like, putting them all into regeneration mode.
I've always been. Give me some stuff for my eyeballs.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
I will agree that the whole, like, I tricked them into all going into regen. Like, yeah, that's kind of like
Snooze
anticlimactic.
fest. It's like, oh,
But
he put him to sleep.
I
But
think
it's smart.
it's very smart. But I think the real climax to the show is Riker deploying the plan. Like that's where the thing is at the highest.
Mhm.
And then when they come up with how they disabled the Borg is like the lower part of the climax.
I mean, it's like I get it now.
Yeah,
I didn't like it then.
I get it.
It was.
They still blew up the ship though.
Oh yeah, yeah. And those cool 1990
The model effects are pretty good though.
Sparky special effects.
Yeah,
they
the
were
sparks
pretty,
with the models.
pretty cool.
I don't hate
Pretty
it.
cool. No,
I don't hate it at all. I love it. But yeah, I just this two-parter's got to be one of the best sci-fi shows ever.
I mean, like this had far-reaching effects for the Picard character, like him being
Oh, yeah.
assimilated and then being fixed and coming back. And
yeah.
This affected him clear through the movies.
Yep.
You know, it's like, and I think that's why this show kind of found its legs after this, because these episodes starting having emotional ramifications for the characters
Mm-hmm.
going forward after this. You know, it became part of the canon. It became part of who these characters were. Picard is always Locutus after this.
Yeah.
And
He's always got that little.
he's always been the guy that blew up a lot of Federation ships at Wolf 359.
Mhm.
I get it, you know, and that's he struggles with that going forward,
Yeah.
as he should.
And he always has that voice in the back of his head.
There's always
There's always that little like the
The-
Borg.
yeah, the stuff. Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. Yeah,
It's cool. I love the Borg, dude. The Borg is so cool, and I love Voyager explores them to great detail.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a fun show. I love that show. All right, do you guys have any final thoughts for Best of Both Worlds, Vader? What do you got
I'm
for
not
me?
going to grade this. I'm not going to give it a star rating. It's definitely way up there on the pantheon of Next Generation episodes. This is the show that put these are the episodes that put this show on the track, on the map.
Mm-hmm.
It's very high up on it's probably top 5 Next Generation episodes, if not top 2 or 3.
Nice.
I don't even know what would be number 1 over this. Yeah, man, it just set up so much stuff. It turned the Borg into like something to fear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Q showed us what they were, but this show showed us
what they could do.
What they can do.
Yeah.
You're like, holy crap!
They can take on an entire fleet.
Yeah.
This destroy you.
Yeah. Well, one ship.
Yeah. One cube.
One ship. We're just gonna come into Federation space and screw your world.
I love that they use
Yeah.
geometry, like the
So-
cubes and the spheres and stuff. It's so
So
freaking.
yeah, I love this episode. These episodes, I guess I should say. Everybody had their moment to shine. It was a cool Riker story. It was a cool Picard story.
Mhm.
You know, it gave Picard a whole new direction to take his character. The episode directly after this is an important one in the series as well, where he goes home to his vineyard, to his brother and his brother's wife.
Decompresses.
You know, that has an effect on why he was so upset in the movie we just talked about, because
Mhm.
those are the people that died in the
Yep.
fire. You know, and it's just the way it kind of ties everything together. This episode is important, and it's a classic, and I'm not gonna talk any crap about
5
it.
out of 5 for Vader. All
Well,
right.
no score.
He
It's
doesn't
just-
like
it's good.
saying
I know,
that,
that's
so
all.
he
Yeah.
opts to not score.
Oh, it's that
Instead.
trick. Oh, okay.
It's a classic episode.
Okay. Right on. Jude, how about you? What are your
It's
thoughts
okay,
on this?
V, I'll say it for you.
No,
5 out of 5.
Yeah. Okay.
I loved it. And so for me, like, y'all know, if you've listened to the show before, you all know that, like, while we're watching these, this is a first watch for me. 'Cause I've never watched Star Trek before. So I got the crash course in, like, what episodes are important, kind of leading up to what we decided we were going to watch for this week. And I understand why this is so important. And it gave me everything that I love about Star Trek. And this is how you properly pull at my heartstrings. Like, he got kidnapped, he's getting assimilated, he's still in there.
Yeah.
And then they bring him back, but he's still got like
Part machine.
PTSD from it. And like, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. So this gave me everything that Generations did not.
Okay.
And I feel like this was successful in the way that Generations failed. So this is just a great couple of episodes, and I feel like it was better than the movie.
Mm.
So
Really?
it's a 5 out. Yeah,
Interesting.
for
Okay.
sure. I like this more than I like what I've seen in the movies so far for Next Generation.
Right on.
That's probably going to remain to be true. I think.
Yeah.
I'm anticipating that. But loving Riker, loving Picard, loving these characters, loving Data, loving Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, man. I forgot she had a little speech for Riker.
Yeah.
That was cool. She kind of just inserted herself.
Guinan always has to come in.
She just comes in and sets shit straight.
She's just so Guinan.
does her Guinan thing.
So for me, it's a 5 out of 5.
Right on.
Guinan comes in like, you really need to do this.
Mhm.
Okay, bartender. Whatever.
I love her little history with Q. I'm
Yeah.
excited to find out more about that.
Yeah, they kind of. That's right.
He's doing the Thriller.
She does do that when
That's
Q
what she
shows up, though.
does. That
You're
wasn't
absolutely
Q.
right.
That wasn't Q who though, not
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. It was the image of you doing it and remembering it was in the show. It's pretty funny. Kadish.
She's an imp, Picard.
Jude loves Q.
Oh,
We all
We
love
love
Q.
Q.
We all
that
love
first.
Q.
Did you watch the first episode? Farpoint.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So you get introduced to the whole Q thing. All right, Kadish. What's your rating for Best of Both Worlds?
So I love the Michael Pillar era of Star Trek: The Next Generation, which pretty much starts like with the Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and goes on for like seasons 4, 5, and 6, I want to say. And then he went off and started working on the other Star Trek shows and stuff like that. But he was really the one who made TNG what it was. And so like these episodes, they were so dramatic. Like the characters start coming into their own. I love them. I'm with Jude, 5 out of 5.
Right on. Yep, I agree. This is one of the best two-parter episodes I've ever seen in Next Gen. It's great. It's like a master class in how to do proper sci-fi or proper Star Trek.
It changed the climate
Mhm.
climate for this show.
So
I love a two-parter that I don't have to wait for.
Yeah, really. Can you imagine being this guy?
Oh God,
6 months.
It sucked, dude. We're like, what's gonna happen? And I think that's why I felt part 2 was a little bit of a letdown, because we were all like so anticipating what was gonna happen, and it's like, oh, they put him to sleep.
They put him in regen.
Man, that was lame, dude. But it was. But now 25 or whatever. How long has it been? 30 years now.
Yeah.
30 years.
1990.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Fuck, I'm old. It's just I appreciate it now, and it's just a really good episode.
Yep. Right on.
And it was good stuff.
All right, guys, that's it for our talk for Best of Both Worlds. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about First Contact, my favorite Star Trek movie. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you'd like to join us on our Discord app, go to saltynerd.discord.com. We have a whole bunch of chats set up for spoiler talk for different TV shows. We've got a Jurassic June chat in there. If that's your thing, come talk about dinosaurs with me.
You're really pushing that.
You guys always laugh at me when I say that. But no, you guys can join us. And of course, if you want to become a Patreon, you can get access to the Patreon exclusive chat rooms where we do some live watches of TV shows. And I edit the podcast in front of everybody. I can kind of show you guys how to use Audacity Premiere, what I know how to do. But we have a ton of fun. Join us, saltynerd.discord.com, and we'll see you there. All right, let's get into it. Jude, what is First Contact all about?
All right. 1996, Star Trek First Contact. Rated PG with a runtime of 1 hour, 51 minutes. Had a budget of $45 million coming up in the world. What do you think this made?
Oh, $200 million.
B?
I think you're a little high.
Think so?
Yeah, 175.
146.
Oh.
My
We're
dear,
both
I hate to correct you.
Oh,
you
no.
love to correct me. You're so angry that you were wrong 10 minutes ago about something.
He had to find something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been Googling furiously, waiting.
I'm going to get these guys.
What's the actual box office?
No,
for
no,
this?
the box office is fine.
Oh, okay.
This was PG-13. This is the first Star Trek movie to be rated PG.
And I
Really?
can- and I can
what
see
I said
why.
that.
made it PG-13?
Dude,
said that.
these
You said
Borg
PG.
in this movie are terrifying.
Oh, they're like walking
They're,
zombies.
they're, they're
Yeah.
terrifying.
Okay. Yeah, they amped up the horror
Well, I
aspect a
have
little bit.
PG-13 in my notes. I apologize if I didn't say it.
Oh, you said PG.
Did I really?
Yeah, you did.
Oh,
That's
well.
okay. I'll forgive you. Go ahead. Take it away.
Let me start it over. We're going to edit out Kiddish being right. 1996 Star Trek First Contact, rated PG-13 with a run hour of 1 hour, 51 minutes.
I think it had.
You got the runtime wrong.
Oh.
Oh, see? I told you he was Googling, waiting for me to fuck up something so he could jump in there with a right.
It's 111 minutes.
Whatever.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. All right, let's go.
Fine.
What's the synopsis, Jude? Go ahead.
The Borg decide they want to take over Earth and also stop humans from inventing warp speed. And the only way to do that is to travel back to the day in history warp speed and first alien contact happened. Picard is triggered, and everyone is questioning if he's the right man to deal with the Borg after what he's been through. When the Enterprise follows the Borg back in time to intercept their plan, the Borg begin to take over the Enterprise and assimilate the crew members. Data gets kidnapped by the Borg Queen, and she gives him actual boy parts and blows on him in an act of seduction, tempting him to turn his back on his captain. But just in the nick of time, he betrays the Borg Queen, saving Picard, the humans, and history.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's good.
Yeah, that was really good. This is my all-time favorite Star Trek
Yeah, it's a
movie.
good one, man.
God damn it, it's so good. It's got the classic humor from the Next Gen with the crew and Data and all that stuff, and it's got Picard with the Borg.
I know what my favorite scene in this movie is.
Go ahead, take it away.
It's not going to be any of your guys' favorite scene.
Is it Cochrane dancing at the bar?
Nope.
Is it the Borg Queen blowjob?
Nope. So, I've always had a huge crush on Marina Sirtis, right?
Is that the Borg Queen?
No, that's
Okay.
Counselor Troy.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
And when she's like drunk and like just having fun, and
belligerent.
just
Vader's like, I bet she'd be into me right
I-
now.
that scene has always made me laugh.
Okay.
It's always cracked me up. It's made me feel good. It's like Marina Sirtis looked like she was having fun when she was filming this.
Yeah.
And it just of all so Counselor Troy is always like, oh, I feel his pain.
Yeah.
Oh, blah, blah, blah. and it's just like when she's like doing her thing during I did like 4 shots of this stuff called tequila. It just made me laugh. It makes me laugh every time.
Okay.
I've seen this movie like 30 times, and it cracks me up every time. So yeah, it's just, I don't know why, but that's just something I always think about when I think about this movie. It's weird.
We should also point out that Gates McFadden went blonde for this movie.
Oh yeah,
It's
amazing.
Yeah.
She does look
It
great.
threw me off a bit.
And Jordy can see.
Oh yeah, they got rid of his
Jordy's eyes
visor.
got
freaked me
implants.
out through
The-
the whole
it's like
movie.
The little
It's like, what is
blue
happening?
I
cyborg
like them.
eyes. I dig
That's
it.
what
I don't like
I
that.
remember
Generations was the last time he wore his visor.
when they first came out with this movie, that was a thing. It's like all the Next Generation fans were like,
Where's
what
Jordy's
about the
visor?
visor?
Yeah.
The visor was like his thing, man.
I need
it's like
that banana clip back.
It's what made him iconic was his
The visor,
headband,
yeah.
you know? And it was weird.
I could have
Super
seen
weird.
them.
For years, LeVar Burton had been lobbying to get rid of
Well,
that
I
thing.
can imagine he
I'm sure.
probably got tired of wearing that stupid thing around, you know?
Can't read your
So,
cue cards.
Yeah.
I think they could have went with a little bit more of a stylish one.
But I mean, I
to
feel like I
upgrade it.
kind of jumped ahead with my favorite scene, but
No,
you know.
that's fine. I would
just-
say they upped the cool factor in this movie.
Oh,
by a million times.
the Enterprise in this thing is amazing.
Freaking dope looking.
Yeah.
I love look, I don't hate the Galaxy version with the big
Mhm.
round saucer. It's very classic Trek.
iconic now. at
It's
this
very
point.
iconic. I love that ship. But when they flew, this one first gets on scene, and you're like, God, what is that fancy ass thing? Looks like an electric razor.
Well, you know what I do is I connect the Enterprise D with science and exploration.
Mhm.
The Enterprise E reminds me of a battleship.
It's like a yeah.
It's a
It's the flagship.
it's
the
yeah. It looks cool. It's a badass looking ship. Not
Mm-hmm.
that the D wasn't, but this one just has something else. This is
It's got an edge to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. It's got an edge to it for
Yeah,
sure.
I dig it, man. I think it's really cool that oval shaped fuselage.
It's like a giant Voyager.
yes, I do love the Voyager ship
Voyager
too. Maybe that's
always-
why I like it so
yeah,
much.
The aesthetics of the Voyager have always looked good in this
Yeah.
show. With the way that we did redesign, whoever did that was great.
Yeah, I saw there was a model at the convention that was like
Yeah.
full freaking, I don't know, 1/8. I don't know how many size it was, but it was huge and it was really freaking cool looking. Yeah, this movie. So this kind of manipulates time a little bit. Does anybody have any issues with the time travel in this movie? Because
No.
I do.
I bet.
you do.
Yeah.
Okay, talk to me. What's the problem with the time travel in First Contact?
Okay, so if the Borg can create time streams to go back in time, why do they have to go into Federation space and attack Earth when they have defenses? Couldn't they just go back in time and some
suppose.
undefended portion of space and then go to Earth back before they have any
I
defense?
never really.
So-
Yeah, it's basically your same argument as from Generations. Like, why did he go back 10 minutes?
Yeah, and basically at the end, the Enterprise is like, oh, well, we know how the Borg did this, so we're just going to use this to go back to our time. And it's
Mhm.
like,
Well, they didn't. They went through the same time portal that the Borg did.
but at the end, when they're going back to the future, they're like, oh, the Borg did it this way, so
Oh.
we're just going to create a portal back to our
Yeah.
time.
Jordy
period to
did a
go there.
little science fiction
And- and-
magic.
I guess so. Yeah, I never really. I don't think about that stuff as much as you do. I
Yeah,
guess.
but
It's just-
but it opens up all types of questions. It's like, well, if they now know how to time travel willy nilly whenever they want,
well, they kind of set that up with Star Trek 4.
yeah, but that opens up the same questions. Like, I guess that the time travel in Star Trek 4 is a little bit less accurate.
And
but-
there is the whole temporal time wars thing in
Yeah.
the future too.
Yeah,
So-
was it
yeah,
29th century or
but-
something?
But whenever you're dealing with time travel, like these types of things come up, and I understand that not all writers want to deal with them, especially
Yeah.
in Star Trek. But it just like it kind of like
The way I always saw it, like, because you were like, why didn't they just time travel from another location to Earth and then fly in?
But they
Like,
had to maintain history, right?
the Borg don't care about that.
No,
yeah.
they don't give a
I just
crap.
meant Starfleet. Like
Oh.
they followed the Borg because they didn't want to alter history.
yeah,
Well,
because,
well,
they,
was
no,
their-
they were following the Borg because when like they were trying to intercept the sphere before it got to Earth,
Okay.
and then when it started traveling back in time, the wake from the opening of the time portal encompassed the Enterprise, so they were unaffected by the changes to the timeline.
Right.
yeah, but they could see Earth and they were like, why is Earth covered with Borg?
That's one of my
Okay.
favorite scenes of this movie.
Oh, really? When it's just like a
It's like
brown, like,
the
nasty
whole
looking-
Borgified planet Earth.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool looking.
It is kinda
I've always
cool.
wanted that as a poster.
My
I
favorite
think
scene in this movie is when Jean-Luc shows up at the battle and just takes command.
Oh,
and
God.
He's like, this is what we're going to do.
the battle is intense in
Yeah.
this movie. It's
Yeah.
really good.
But another thing I hate about this film, because I'm not a fan of this film, I don't really like any of the next gen movies. But so the Defiant
I love the Defiant.
Well, yeah, I love the Defiant too, but the Defiant was specifically designed to defeat the Borg.
It was designed for one purpose only, to fight and defeat the Borg.
Report! Main power's offline. We've lost shields. Our weapons are gone.
But to put it simply, it's overgunned and overpowered for a ship its size.
The Defiant's losing life support. Bridge to transporter room 3. Beam the Defiant survivors aboard.
It was designed for one purpose only, to fight and defeat the Borg.
So hold on a second. So
Let's get nerdy.
The Defiant was a prototype ship of a ship that was designed to fight the Borg. It doesn't mean the Defiant is going to take on the Borg by itself. If you had 15 Defiants going up against the Cube, then that would be different.
What was specifically
But
special about the Defiant?
the
Was it like the rotating phaser variances and stuff like that?
And it cloaked and it did all kinds of
Okay.
goofy. It's a warship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
But-
it had different kind of torpedoes at the time and stuff. It was designed to fight the Borg.
yeah, and it in the actual battle where it's fighting the Borg, it just gets its butt
Gets
handed.
owned.
But now, I'm going to disagree with you there.
It was designed for one purpose only, to fight and defeat the Borg.
Okay.
But
anyway, yeah.
but it was one ship of many that got
Well,
handed
apparently
to-
they did better than they did in Best of Both Worlds because they didn't get demolished, in one shot.
Yeah, well, the Defiant wasn't around during
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So they had at least a little bit of a leg up.
Picard wasn't around to let them know where the weak spot
Right,
was because,
right.
like, if Picard wasn't still kind of connected to the consciousness, he wouldn't have known what part of the ship to target because all the other sensors on the ships, they were like, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, that's the weak spot. Focus.
It's like the whole thing where Worf is the commander of the Defiant. And
They throw shade at him.
It's a nice, convenient way to get Worf on the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, come on, if Worf wasn't in this,
Oh, I'd hate it.
if Worf isn't in the Next Generation movie, we're not going to watch it. Okay, it's not going to be.
I
as
love
good.
that moment where Picard is spazzing out and he's like, "You're a coward."
Oh
And-
God,
and-
that's an
and-
intense.
yeah, and Worf is like,
If you were any other man, I would kill you where you stand.
"If you were any other man,
Yes.
I'd kill you where you stand."
I'm like, whoa,
Shit.
that was intense.
But it's funny because Worf is actually like a big badass in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that time where he shot off the Borg's arm and then used the cable to tie
Yes,
off his
dude, that's what I was talking about. Like when Worf is in the TV
So-
show, I feel like he gets kind of
This is so
sidelined?
you haven't watched DS9, right?
Not
so
yet.
this is deep into his DS9 run.
okay. So he's a badass now.
This is
Okay,
yeah,
because when
yeah.
he was fighting that Borg on the side of the ship and he takes that freaking knife
God,
out of his
so
back
cool.
and hacks its neck off, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, where's this been all my
so,
life?
yeah, so this is good Worf.
Yeah,
And then the next movie we get Gorch Worf.
Gorch Worf.
What's that?
It's a zit. What's that on your face? It's a gorch. And, this is it's a Klingon zit. Yeah.
Is this real?
What
Yes.
movie is that?
Yes.
What movie was the next one? Is
The one that's-
Insurrection?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is when we go to
The Never Planet.
Worf is comedy relief again.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
wasn't comedy relief in this movie.
No, he was a badass.
He
in
was
this
Worf in
movie.
this
Yeah,
movie.
dude. Kadish is right though. That was
Yeah.
an intense scene.
Yeah. and-
You're a coward.
well, that's
you
at the
were
end of the
any
movie.
other man. Oh my god,
But
dude.
yeah, I
love this
mean,
movie so much.
this, and
what's funny is so there's a new character in this movie called Lieutenant Hawk,
Lieutenant Hawk.
played by Neil McDonough.
best name ever.
And originally, Hawk was supposed to be the first openly gay Star Trek character in a film. And then Paramount kind of chickened out on that one.
He's a pretty badass dude, though. He plays a lot of villains. The actor
Yeah.
plays a lot of
Neil
villains in
McDonough,
movies.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he was pretty cool. I liked him. I thought he kind of went out like a punk, but whatever.
Well, I was wondering how they were able to assimilate him through his spacesuit.
Yeah, because if you watch the scene, the Borg picks him up and throws him, and he goes
I mean,
floating
they stuck
away.
their little things to this.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Vader's like, stop thinking about
Who gives a
it.
shit?
All right, balloon man.
And also, this movie has one of the best Picard speeches.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
Oh, it's so amazing.
Listen,
Patrick Stewart at his finest.
Real- I don't have to turn my brain off to enjoy this movie.
No, it's a great movie.
This isn't balloon guy here. okay?
I'm just
Fuck you,
I'm
dude.
giving you
There's
shit.
this fucking guy in the comments call me a balloon ass fucking.
To be fair, he said you would be better replaced by a balloon.
Yeah, I don't fuck him. Okay, whatever. But
No, this has some of the greatest Picard moments, but we're kind of getting lost in the weeds here.
Yeah,
So
if you were ever wondering if we do read the comments.
I read all the comments. I take them personally, and they're very hurtful. Okay,
We're human beings, man.
YouTube commenter.
If your commenter was any other man.
See, look,
Yeah, that's
Borg
dope.
World,
Yeah,
good.
that's cool.
But no,
All right, so our introduction to Cochrane, like this is a character, or
so good.
it's
I
hilarious.
love it.
Because it's funny to see the difference what time does. So like you got the next gen characters.
Kadish hates him.
You think you hate Cochrane?
I-
Is it Zephyrin Cochrane?
Zephram Cochrane. I don't hate him, but like I think it's funny that James Cromwell has played multiple different characters.
Oh yeah.
And this is the one he's remembered for. Because like he's shown up in the Next Generation like early on a couple times.
Yeah.
Well, he's got that tall, lanky body that's easy to put makeup on.
Yeah.
And make him kind of a weird alien type dude. Yeah.
I think it's funny in this movie how like it's kind of like a hero worship thing where like Geordi and all the characters are like, oh my god, that's Zephyrin Cochrane.
Well, that's the
Whoa.
humor.
And then they go back and they
it's
see him
cool.
and he's like some goofy drunk and he's like, I didn't build this to be an explorer. I built it for money.
Yeah.
So one of my big issues with this movie is that this was the start of turning Picard into an actions hero as opposed to like, the thinking man's diplomat.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Thing. And originally the way the story was supposed to go was that Riker was going to be leading the attack against the Borg on the Enterprise, and Picard was going to be on the surface helping Cochrane.
That kind of would have made more
And
sense.
It would have made more sense.
Because I mean, like they all knew like Patrick Stewart's kind of old, so we don't want him doing all this action stuff. And then Patrick Stewart specifically objected that he's like, I should be the one on the Enterprise dealing with the Borg because the Borg's my thing.
I mean, honestly, Picard never should have beamed down to the planet to begin with.
Yeah, but regardless of all that, like I felt like Picard, like this is the start of him like doing the running, jumping, dune buggy, like stuff that basically like ruined his character from like the show.
I don't
He
know
was
if
like, I will not be outshined by Geordi's
His
physical
role.
prowess. Yeah.
And we should also point out that this movie was directed by Jonathan Frakes, and like he was kind of like making the jump into behind the camera
Just-
stuff around this time.
Jonathan Frakes is a good track director.
yeah.
His episodes that he directs for the shows are good. His, what's the other show with he's on a few of those episodes.
Enterprise.
No, the Family Guy guy.
Family.
Orville.
Oh,
He's-
Orville.
He directs episodes of the Orville.
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
The Orville is just news track.
Yeah.
But no, Jonathan Frakes has done a lot of directing, and this is one of his earlier pieces as far as
Yeah.
I think this was his first feature that he
might have been his
directed.
first feature. Yeah.
And they actually went out to like some bigger name directors at first, but they decided to go with Frakes because of his relationship with the crew
Mhm.
and his experience in TV, which meant that he could do it like fast and cheap.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of defend Patrick Stewart being the action star. Like there was the one scene where it was at the very, very end of the movie where he's hanging from the rafters. He looks in surprisingly good shape
He does
For
He's-
his age.
for his age. I was like, dang, dude, he's got some muscle
he's
on
got
him.
some biceps.
I
going
didn't
on
I
there.
didn't
Yeah,
not believe
but
it.
he still had like grandpa muscles.
Oh, he's fine. He's strong.
I disagree.
I
As the lady at the table, I was like, oh, hey.
I thought you liked big dudes.
You ever
I
been
like
with
dudes.
there you go.
I will say, Alex, that I thought that Robert Picardo's little cameo in this.
Oh, that was great.
Brilliant. It was
Yeah,
good.
I was my wife and I were watching this together, and she's like, "Oh, that's awesome! I love that."
There was a lot
Yeah.
of cool little.
and it was a
throws to the other.
Yeah.
shows.
Well, if you notice, the med bay on the Enterprise E was just the Voyager's med bay. They just
Yeah.
redressed it for the movie.
yeah. They
Save
did a
money.
different
And-
color
but
lighting.
it's same ship, same family.
designer, yeah.
It should be. It should look similar.
So I really like that because there was even a little bit of shade that Crusher threw. She's like, "Oh God, I swore I'd never use one of these. Activate the EMH." It was good
And
stuff.
he didn't have the Voyager Doctor's personality per se. He was kind of like the raw
Yeah,
pre EMH.
he's just very basic. Like,
It's like, you want me to do what?
Well,
Yeah, he was the standard EMH.
Yeah.
But they actually had some DS9 cameos in this, where Avery Brooks was supposed to be assigning Worf the, to the battle with the Defiant, and they actually shot that scene, and they ended up cutting it out.
Oh,
in the
I'd like
movie.
to have seen that.
Yeah.
That'd been cool.
the thing that I think really works with Picard being on the Enterprise fighting the Borg is the Captain Ahab aspect
Sure.
of his
Yeah.
character.
That was
Like,
a good analogy.
Yeah.
it was a great way of like, if you put him on the planet, you wouldn't have had that character arc for him.
You
he
needed-
would have
you
been hanging
needed-
out with Cochrane, like goofing around. Like Riker was goofing around down there. He was having a
Yeah,
good time.
yeah.
He was at a freaking party.
Yeah, you need right. I'm sorry. You need Picard with his kind of confronting the queen kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it works. I mean,
I also liked that we got a little more LARPing in this with the James Bond.
Oh
scene.
yeah, the detective one where he goes in there with the Tommy gun.
Like, I'm here to see the nose. I'm in the wrong chapter.
As you go through your Next Generation journey, or basically any show after this,
Okay.
people in the future love their LARPing.
Oh yeah.
I was born in the wrong time.
The holodeck is 100% nothing but LARPing.
The holodeck
it
and
is
Voyager.
amazing.
The holodeck and Voyager is awesome.
It is such a cool story thing that they
I
can
had an issue with the LARPing in this simply because, like, typically in the Star Trek universe, you get dressed up before you go to the holodeck, and in this one, like, they just kind of
appeared
I
holographic clothing.
think you can do it either way.
It cut away, right? He was cut away in the show, and then you get the Borg walking in. So there could have been a little bit of a time there where they could get dressed real
They
quick.
took a break running from the Borg to go put on their
We
fancy
gotta put our fancy outfit on, guys.
But that never took me out of it because I've always
And like,
kind of
where was he hiding her outfit?
Oh,
if
they
that
just
was the case.
he replicated it.
So
I'll allow it.
another interesting issue with this movie is that, so in the Best of Both Worlds, originally Data was going to be kidnapped along with Picard, and you know, he was going to be they were going to try to assimilate him as well, but for whatever reason they changed that. They cut that out of the script for the show. But when they were writing this movie, they decided to bring that idea back. And so this has that direct tie to Best of Both Worlds, and the fact that Data was the one kidnapped now instead of Picard. And
So that's a great segue, because I wanted to get Jude's thoughts on the sexual tension between the Borg Queen and Data. How'd you feel about that?
On the edge of my seat, baby.
yeah, because he is fully functional.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't seen that episode.
well, that's season 1.
When he gets it on with Sasha?
Tasha Yar.
Tasha. So sorry. My bad, guys.
The security lady?
Yeah. Oh, they get it on.
Interesting.
Well,
She basically seduces him.
Oh.
So are you fully functional? Yeah.
Don't ruin it for me.
No, it's
Oh,
good.
I can't wait for you to watch
It's hard not to ruin stuff.
I know. Jude, you have so
because
much.
You got so much
Because
to watch.
it's 30 years old.
But anyway, I just thought that was so funny, because when I was watching this, like, I've never really thought about that before. Like, it's always been, oh, that's the Borg Queen. She's like weird like that. But now, after knowing Jude for so long and knowing how much you get a kick out of stuff like that, as I was watching this movie this time around, I'm like, Jude is laughing her ass off right now.
I mean, I was open-mouthed watching it the whole time,
She's
like, oh my God.
They got the skin on his arm. She's like,
And it showed like the hair raising.
like,
and she's like, was
"Was
it good for you?
She
And
literally-
I was like, oh, you hoe bag, do more.
You literally just gave Data a blowjob.
Yeah,
That's
and,
awesome.
and Data's reaction is like, he was like, ho, ho, ho.
I've never experienced anything like that. And I was like, boy, just wait.
Will you blow on my arm?
Get out of here.
Come on, just blow on it.
Not in front of the Patreon.
It's not the same.
it's not. He can't blow himself.
Man,
Oh, Jesus.
come on, Jude.
No, that
Well, the actress who played the Borg Queen, you know, her suit was so tight
Is it
that
Allison Krieg? Or is that the Voyager one?
I think there's
Two different ladies.
Are they
played.
two different ladies?
Yeah.
no, I thought they were played by the same.
Yeah, I think they're the same.
So there was a different queen for the Voyager episodes, except for the finale, which I believe is the same lady as this.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So that makes sense.
So Allison Krieg is the Borg Queen in this, and her outfit was so tight that she got blisters from, like,
Oh,
you know,
no.
it rubbing up against her when she moved
Oh,
and stuff.
See,
yeah.
I remembered that without looking at IMDb.
Nice. Yeah, it's.
That's what I recognize.
I appreciated that scene a lot more now, knowing Jude, than I did in the past when I watched it. I was cracking
You
up.
dirty hoe.
It was so funny.
Yeah.
Can we also call out Barclay's little cameo?
Oh,
in this?
Barkley! Yeah, I didn't even remember he was in this movie. I'm like, that's Barkley. What's he doing
Jude
here?
doesn't know who Barclay is yet.
Oh, you don't know who Barkley is yet? Oh, you sweet summer child.
Lieutenant Broccoli.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I had his action figure when I was a kid. I had a
I think
little
yeah.
with the yellow orange
But
suit on.
But Barclay's just like, he just keeps like stalking Cochrane throughout the movie because he wants to shake his hand.
It's like, speaking of LARPers, have you met Lieutenant Barclay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
The super socially awkward
God.
dude who
Yeah,
shows
you're
up in
gonna
like
love him.
every Star Trek show. It's awesome. It was cool. Yeah, this movie was a ton of fun. It's definitely hits the hardcore nostalgia for me.
It's certainly the best of the
100%.
Next Generation movies.
Yeah.
If you don't think about it too much.
I'm trying to think what my favorite scene was. I kind of talked about the cool factor with the Enterprise. But I think just Picard's like that whole Captain Ahab, that little nugget in this movie was just so freaking good. And when the lady kept pushing him and pushing him and pushing him, and he finally just broke, and he's like, the line must be drawn here. It was like, whoa, freaking.
That's one of his.
Picard.
It's one of his iconic lines.
Yeah.
And
Along
he
with
breaks his trophy case.
Yeah. And he's, oh.
along with his line with the lights from the
Yeah.
They'll come here, no further.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good. It was classic Picard, man.
I can't remember. Oh man, I don't remember if there's 3 lights or 4 lights.
It's so like there are 5 lights,
There's 4 lights. Yeah.
but he keeps trying to get him to say that there are 4.
Right.
And
So-
he's like, there aren't.
I gotta go back.
Anyway.
We're tangent. Sorry.
Yeah, that was a hardcore tangent. No, I think my favorite scene might be on the outside of the deck of the Enterprise fighting the Borg
With the magnetic boots.
With the magnetic boots. The boots make a cameo in this one.
Yeah.
Love those boots.
I love the boots in Star Trek. That was pretty cool, and I liked how Worf got his little win there, where he like cut the thing's arm off and then tied it around his leg so he wouldn't die out in space. It was cool. It was good stuff. I dug it.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to do final thoughts? You guys have anything
I'm
else?
ready.
Okay. Matt, final thoughts on First Contact.
This is I enjoy this movie. It is by far the best of the Next Generation movies. It's got a lot of cool moments in it. I love the Borg. This took the Borg to that next kind of horrific level. It's it's like when you think of the Borg, you always thought of spacefaring zombies, right?
Yeah.
They never really looked like that to me before. They looked like humans with
They were too well lit.
implants with, a lot of face makeup.
Yeah.
This movie, they're terrifying. They look like space zombies.
Oh, when that one dude's sitting there and he's like dying and he's getting, and he's
yeah,
like, help me,
help
me, Captain.
And he gets the nanobots injected, and he's like gets infected. He's like, and
Picard
Picard
shoots
just
him.
kills him.
Yeah.
As he should have.
And he's like, trust me, I did him a favor.
Yeah. And it's just, it's like I think back about between that scene in particular and what they could have done with Best of Both Worlds if they had gone on the ship and she like injected him. Because that was pre-nanobots, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have that part of the Borg. And if we had seen like the things go into his neck.
Oh, and like
on
Picard gets cut.
And his face starts getting all fucked up before they beam him back to the Borg
Do
ship.
we need a special edition
That would
of
have
Best
been
of
really,
Both?
that would have been badass, dude. But then that would have opened. But then it would have been a way different thing because you can't just extract the nanobots out.
Yeah.
Like
They're part of your blood at that point. Yeah.
Just disconnect and remove his implants. Everything's fine. No,
That's some full
I mean, I
Yeah.
guess that you can because that's what they did with 7. But still,
Seven still had nanobots.
But
yeah.
she's still a Borg.
Yeah.
She's
very
just
much
not
so.
connected.
Because she could
She's-
still, even
she
after
had to learn to be a human again.
Yeah, even after she was disconnected from the hive mind, she was still able to like
She still got the Borg shit in her.
Yeah, she still is half Borg.
But you don't know her yet.
Oh.
But you got so much to learn,
God
young
damn it,
Padawan learner.
I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
Ensign Jude over there.
Yeah. But she's still in the academy.
Shut up, salty.
There's some nerds out there who look down on me because I haven't watched DS9 yet.
And on me because I haven't watched these shows for 20 years. This is all like deep memory shit for me.
Yeah.
So
Don't be looking down
but,
on me. I'm doing the best
no,
I
you're
can.
good. My favorite scenes I've always told you I like the drunk bar stuff. I
Yeah.
like the Cochrane stuff. He cracks me up. I can't think of it whenever I hear that that song now. I immediately go to this movie. I don't really hear that song a lot, but
Yeah.
it has come up for some like weird Spotify playlist or something. It's fun. And
Flashes you back to this show.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just a cool movie. It's still Star Trek, but it's more action oriented. But it's got a lot of cool throwbacks and stuff, and I like it. I'm gonna go 3.5 stars. I think it's the best of the Next Generation movies, but that's not saying a lot. So yeah, there you go.
Jude, how about you?
So I feel about this kind of how I felt about Generations, but not to that degree. So I'm liking the show better than I'm liking the movies. This is better than Generations for me. It's about a 3 Borg cubes out of 5. But I mean, there's definitely stuff that I love about it. Like, I'm loving the whole thing with Data and that creepy queen. I loved all of that. The sexual tension in that. I love Picard's like diehard daddy tactical outfit. You know, there's a lot to love about it, but in the general sense, I'm liking the good feeling that I get out of the show, and like the campiness. It's still kind of there for me in the show, and that's lacking in the movie for me.
It typically takes the movies typically take themselves more seriously,
for sure, and I prefer them not to.
Yeah, that's Jude's. Jude's missing the cheese.
And that's just me.
Missing the cheese.
Yep. Kadish, how about you, buddy?
So, like I said before, I didn't like any of the next gen movies. This one felt very kind of like TV-ish, because you literally have the A story and the B story, like your typical Star Trek TV show. And the B story with Zephyr Cochrane on the planet, I just thought was kind of like boring and like.
But maybe that's why we like this movie.
It's not why I like it, but overall, like, yeah, this is the best of the bunch in terms of the next gen movies. I love the cast, but like there's so many things story wise that, you know, was done here. The action starification of Picard and I don't know, like I just have a lot of issues with the writing in this particular movie, especially how they deal with the time travel stuff and things of that nature. So for me personally, this is just like a 2-star.
Ouch. Oh, that hurt a little bit.
Fucking up time travel is a sin that Lord Kadish cannot
See,
forgive.
when a movie does time travel, I'm just kind of like, you can't make sense of it. It doesn't matter how well they do it. You can pick it apart. Even Back to the Future.
I bet you disagree, Doug.
You can pick Back to the Future apart if you really wanted to.
Marina Sirtis is so pretty.
She's gorgeous.
We're watching Vader's favorite scene.
Yeah, we're watching Vader's favorite scene where Troy gets drunk.
I loved her so much.
Yeah, he's just like, I bet I have a shot with her right now.
You ever been with a big man?
Exactly. Yes. That's what he would say. He would walk up to drunk Troy. You ever been with a big man?
He'd like do that thing with the leg over the chair, hop down.
The Riker maneuver.
Hit her with the line.
She's another one that like tequila makes her horny, I bet.
Yeah, oh yeah. 100%. 100%. For me, again, this is my favorite of the Next Generation movies. I got to get a solid 4. It's not perfect. Obviously, Kadish pointed out some of its flaws, but damn it, do I love this movie. I can watch it over and over again.
Movie,
it never gets old. The other movies get old.
I'm not a fan of Brandon Braga and his storytelling. Like, I like Ronald D. Moore, but he's kind of hit or miss. Like, Battlestar Galactica was great, but he's not like 100% always like churning out good stuff. And I think Brandon Braga's fingerprints are all over this movie, and that's an issue for me because I was never a big fan of his.
I love Worf in this movie too.
Worf was
a badass.
Kill you where you stand.
Oh, so good.
That scene with him with Picard, like we talked about earlier, it's pretty intense.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you've never seen him talk to his captain that way before.
Whoa,
yeah,
Worf has had some character growth.
It's also a big trailer moment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That scene was in the trailer. He's like, if you were any other man, I'd kill you where you stand.
Yeah, good stuff.
I feel like every time you guys say that line, you're like pretending that you are Worf.
Oh,
100%. This is your LARPing that you're doing right now.
I know. We barely touched on Data in this thing.
Data had.
So, what were your thoughts on him before you gave your final thoughts? Did they treat him good in this movie?
I think he did fine.
Was it weird with the skin stuff? His Pinocchio moments.
He was definitely very weird, but it made sense for his character because he's constantly trying to get to that next level to become more human. It was very much in line with him.
She gave him that like human crack that was just like next level.
I like how at the end when he's like part, grafted, like half of his hair is just like all poofy
with his real hair.
Yeah.
It was.
I'm a real boy.
I've always kind of got a chuckle whenever I see the scene where they're in the hallway and Data turns off his emotional chip.
He just clicks his head a little bit.
Picard's like, sometimes I envy you, Mr. Data.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that.
That's good stuff.
That's really good stuff right there.
Yeah,
what did he say? He was like,
the next gen movies kind of turned into the Data and Picard show.
Yeah.
Eventually, yeah. They really hammered home the relationship between those two as the movies went on.
But that scene in particular always kind of stands out. But Data's never been my favorite. And but that scene in particular I've kind of enjoyed. But I don't know. There's just something about Data that's always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But I mean, maybe we'll get into that more later. But
I have another
because it's hard for me to explain.
Oh, what's up?
Question. So there are definitely parallels between Picard and Data in Best of Both Worlds.
Okay.
All right, and I see that in this one too. Is that something that carries on?
So one of the themes that running through all of Star Trek is the human versus
The android.
The machine.
the non-human kind of, and it's Kirk and Spock in the original series. It's Data and Picard in this one. It's Cisco, and who would be that role in DS9?
I don't know.
You know, Janeway in 7.
It would be Janeway in 7 or Janeway and the Doctor.
You know, there's always one of those kind of relationships in these shows, but the comparison between Data and Spock has always been the big one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are very close.
Okay.
And they have a lot of relationship building throughout the series and the movies.
Okay.
And you know, Data's always been Pinocchio. He's always tried to find his. I want to be a real boy.
Yeah, I see that.
I need my emotions. You know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did like that scene where he's like, I'm feeling some sensation. I'm nervous or scared. And he's like, Data, right now is not a good time. Oh, okay. Click.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. All right, guys. That's it. That's our discussion for First Contact. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you didn't rate it.
I didn't rate it. Oh, I did 4.
Yeah, you did.
4 out of 5.
Oh.
Yeah, 4 out of 5.
Tito's.
Tito's. We're just gonna have a shot of the jar of Tito's to show up next to your head every once in a while.
Vader showed up with a handle of Tito's today, and I think it's
half
at
gone.
least a third gone. Yeah.
Star Trek. Yeah. All
He's
right,
like,
guys.
I brought this for you. I also already served myself.
I didn't say I brought it for you. I said I brought it to drink.
That's fair. I walked in and said, "Oh, you brought me booze," and he was like.
Thank you for joining us on the podcast today. Make sure to tune in every week where we talk about awesome movies that we love. Next week is going to be more Star Trek. We're going to finish off the Next Generation movies with Insurrection and Nemesis. So stay tuned for that next week. Like and comment below what you think. What is your favorite Next Gen movie? And whether or not we should watch DS9 together. Me and Jude. Be the first time.
We're watching Chaos on the Bridge too, right?
Yes, next week is Chaos on the Bridge as well.
I'll make Romulan ale.
Hell yes. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Vader, where can they find you on the socials?
You can find me at MattVader74 on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
Right on. And Jude.
You can find me at IamJudeJuju on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
And Matthew Kadish.
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter, and KadishBooks.com takes you to my Amazon page.
And I'm Alex the Salty Nerd. You can catch me on Twitter at salty_nerd. And as always, make it so #1.
The bridge is yours.